starting route to National Trust, Greyfriars House and Garden. Turn left on Friar Street.
Oh, you've got to do. Wait. Thomas!
Thank you.
We're too late for the house, are we?
So we've got some highlight tours still going. So
but naturally a sealant constituent back there, nothing went to waste, so the early Tudor staircases still. These are from 1610.
So everybody, we just arrived in Worcester. We finally found a parking space. Otherwise it would have been impossible to get to our second destination otherwise. But it's a very packed town centre, I know that. So we're on our way now to the National Trust.
Dave, you'd have a whale dealer in ya. Yeah. You'd have a whale dealer. What are you doing? Look at the options on it.
We're on our way to it, so. Peel Adams. Oh, show bar. The pheasant. Oh. Midweek prices, eh? John Smith's £2.40 in there, dude. So it should be everybody on our left by here. Oh, the King's Gallery there. So hopefully everybody, we're not too far out of the way for it now. I always have to look for a GPS, but hopefully though we don't have to, because I'll have to charge my phone up otherwise. And I haven't brought a wire with me. I'm on 32%, so I'm not sure what my phone was doing in the background. I think because I had YouTube on and I was trying to upload to, tonight's video, which you've already seen before this one, well, way before this one. Perhaps that's why it ate my battery. So hoping we're on the right track. No, look after it on the side of it. So somewhere right here.
Starting route to National Trust, Greyfriars House and Garden. Turn left on Friar Street.
It's got to be down here then. Oh, so they got a cafe and lunch here, look. Lots of different cafes you can eat at. So this is it here. Yeah, this is it. Put some more money in the car just in case. Not have a walk around.
Yeah.
Bit of a timeline there. Greyfriars as a home of Thomas Green, a wealthy Worcester merchant. Oh, cafe seating there, viewers. So that's the cafe inside. That little side room there. So a person from the cafe do it. Got to purchase something from the cafe.
Right, no, I ain't.
Temporary closed. Oh, that's it from the side view.
There's the house, you could just film outside it, look.
I thought you could go inside the house, I thought. I actually thought you could go inside there. Oh, that's a cafe there. Oh, that's private. There's a doorway there. I think that's the house inside there, isn't it? It's gotta be. Oh, the house. That's it. And Nick's gonna ring. Got a ring.
Who what? Oh. I hope it's up now. What have we got to do? Wait. Thomas! Crying out loud.
That's a ring, isn't it? Don't think it's open, is it?
We got a book out across the street to visit upstairs room. We're able to book at reception across the street.
Well, let's go to the reception then. Oh, that's what we'll start doing, because I always want to know who we are. Oh, that was a loud bang.
I did my duty.
Oh, there it is, reception. Sold out on the tours.
Access to their owner's whole house is by guided by tours. Or they all sold out.
It's pretty quiet, I mean, there's no harm.
And you know, like sweethearts.
Oh.
Oh, it's difficult to use other one, wasn't it, really?
Oh.
Don't worry. I should probably make a sign saying please don't call me.
Just more worried that she'd hurt herself, that was all.
You've got one vegan.
One vegan and one.
One vegan and one non-vegan.
So we might miss the house, and if it's all by booking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I think she's getting it. That one's yours, do you know?
Didn't see that on the website.
Honey, vegan.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
We're too late for the house, are we?
So we've got some highlight tours still going. So there's one at 2:45, and then there's another one which will be at, I believe, 3:25.
We'll see what time we
2:45.
go. Yeah, we'll see what time we'll have.
Is it free though?
Is it free for that?
If you're National Trust members, it's free for that. If you're not, then there is a ticketed price, yeah.
How much is the price?
So it's £11.
We'll do that then, but it's over half an hour, yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you book your tickets now, and then go see the museum and come back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to do that?
Yeah.
No problem.
Seems we've come a long way.
Quite far distance. Interesting to see the highlights though.
45 minutes.
So was it just the two of you? Was it?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, perfect. If I could both of yours.
Yeah, both.
Did you want to pay now?
Yeah, we'll do that now, yeah.
And at least you're all sorted, aren't
Yeah.
you?
Do we come here?
Yes. So the tour starts literally just outside this shop. So if you get here, then like a minute before 2:45, Chris will meet you and then he'll take you round.
Okay,
So there will be a few other people, as you can see, coming in. So I'm just trying to find the numbers. Yes, please. I'll find that in a minute. I'll sort that out in a moment. How would you like to pay?
By card.
Perfect. It should start saying something to you in a moment. Let me know if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, go, do it now.
Okay, that sounded good. So there's your receipt for you. And then yeah, the tour starts at 2:45, just outside here with Chris. And we do have toilets if you need them beforehand. So as you go through the arch, so just tuck round to the left hand side, and we've got a cafe, which is the last door on the right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you then.
it down
Yes,
to
please.
245?
Just arrived.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, very quickly, 1490 approximately, early Tudor, wealthy merchant's house by the name of Thomas Green. So as I say, a lot went into showing off here. You've also got the jetty, which was the first floor overhang. Not that unusual, because of course the smaller house next door has it. These days estate agents will say, oh how wonderful, you've got more floor space. But that's not really why they're doing it. But also it does give the opportunity for the pots to be emptied. Long before internal plumbing.
So working there for nearly 2 years.
Well, I'm expecting passers by. These days we are. So, show off house. Incidentally, we know he's a brewer by trade. We haven't found evidence, unfortunately, still, of that brew house. But the deeds, when he sold it on, show it as a tenement and brew house. Of course, tenement has different connotations these days, Glasgow apartments and the like. But tenement referred to any dwelling back then, so it was a tenement and brew house. So let's wander across and pause in the archway. So here on the screen is the man. So here he is up here, PG. That's his moniker, and the anchor doesn't mean that he was a sailor. It's the Christian oaken anchor sign. Though when we say he wasn't a sailor, in reality, when you think about transport back in early Tudor times, actually moving barrels around on the Severn probably was the most violent way of doing it, because the roads were far worse than they even are now. Potholes didn't come into it. But not just Thomas, also his wife up there, CG. Now we know nothing more about Catherine at all, apart from the fact she's up there, and that is genuine. It's not a recent innovation to show equality and all that. So as we come through, again, the high ceilings, except it's not a ceiling here, of course, it's a passageway. So I'm sure you can work out the logic of doing this. Why do you think there would be such a high entranceway? Certainly the horse, absolutely. So again, early Tudor times, the last thing you want to do is arriving as a visitor, a guest, is to have to dismount in the street, especially if it's dark. Could be pretty dodgy. Bear in mind, this was the main thoroughfare in Worcester back then. So, gates opened. You can come in here and then dismount once the gates are closed, so much safer. Now we're in here, a word or two about construction. So we believe that part of the frame of the property was actually assembled off-site. It would have been logical. Obviously all materials are locally sourced, would have had to be back then. We believe the fine oak would have come from an area of Worcester called Perry Wood. Perry, of course, being the part of the symbol of Worcestershire these days. But Perry Wood, obviously no longer a wood, naturally. Even if Henry VIII didn't knock some of it down for his navy, these days it's housing estates. But we believe the fine oak came from there, and we call it close studded because there's a variety of oak pegs used to help support the frame. You can still see some of it. But also, we've got not graffiti, but maker's marks. Not that unusual, but they're most obvious on these diagonal trusses. And it's almost certainly because the skilled craftsmen, the carpenters, wanted to make sure if part of the assembly was off-site, that these went exactly in the right place. And mirror image over here, and also a mirror pair behind the gates as well. So those are pretty important. Last but not least, of course, between the timber we've got the lovely wattle and daub. Thankfully these days on hot days it doesn't smell, but naturally a sealant constituent back there, nothing went to waste, so human urine was naturally used. And one final point about wattle and daub is the term breaking and entry. We believe that it could have been linked to wattle and daub because in poorer properties, then obviously there was less timber, bigger gaps, and poorer quality wattle and daub, so the wicker frame would have been pretty flimsy, and so was the sealant. So it would have been quite easy for ne'er-do-wells to break a hole through and nip in and get any valuables. Not there's like to be any valuables, frankly, in poorer properties back then, but it's a good story anyway, so it's one to remember. Right, without further ado, let's head on upstairs. As I said at the start, that's the focus of how this building survived, really, from 90 years ago.
I think this place is very safe.
Go through this way because it's easier. And be careful of the stairs. These aren't the original ones. We do have the early Tudor staircases still. These are from 1610 with some later additions, but still be careful. And we'll assemble the top left in the parlour. I'm afraid these welcome to the parlour, or living room, as it became, so to speak. So first of all, quick potted history, some important people that we know lived and enjoyed this place. Thomas Green himself, probably only about 8-9 years. It was his forever home, as we call it these days, but he didn't survive that long. Family sold it on. The next important person to live here was a Thomas Twizel, lovely name. It turns out he was the auditor to a certain Jane Seymour, and he fell on hard times while he was here. Obviously he wasn't collecting the fees, or something went wrong. He was here about 20 years. And when he fell on hard times, somebody called Thomas Cromwell awarded him £10 a year to keep him going. Doesn't sound much these days, but it certainly was, and that made him very comfortable in his probably later career and retirement. After Twizel, perhaps more important family to live here were the Street family, S-T-R-E-T-E, and they were here over 100 years, obviously not the one family, 3 generations in fact. Now when we get to around about 1610, if you think about what we do these days for Victorian properties, we like to modernise them, but hopefully not get rid of too much. Similarly back then, 130-year-old house, first of all, it wasn't big enough, so they extended. And you might have noticed on the way in, on the left-hand side, out of the passageway, brick and timber extension. Probably added about 1/3 to size, more room for growing families and all that kind of thing. Then internally, the major thing they did was fitted that staircase you came up. As I said, we still have the original staircases from 1490, one in each wing basically. They're fire escape purposes only. You'll see one in a minute and realise why. So they're emergency only, because if you've got a tour party of 15 or so, then it'll take forever if they do get up. So that's the staircase, but also on trend, as we call it these days, panelling. The original house wouldn't have had panelling. In fact, the bedroom through there looks internally the same as the house does externally. But other rooms did have panelling. The Streets put that in, especially this room, or possibly rooms. It may have been 2 rooms originally. But also the decoration, just about see most of the way around, decoration above. In line with the amount of money that Thomas Green must have spent on the property originally, they certainly embellished the look of it. And last but not least, we believe that the Streets would have glazed the windows. The original house probably wasn't glazed because in the early Tudor times glass was so expensive, so it probably would have just been shuttered, but the Streets certainly would have had glazing by then. So that was the Streets. Now after that, and very much post-Civil War and all of that, it changed hands quite a lot, but more importantly it's the use of the property. So it starts to change from a domestic property into commercial. initially, a number of trades started operating here in sort of early Georgian times. All sorts of trades, almost the candlestick maker list, if you like. We know, in fact, at one point there were 2 bakers operating in different parts of the building. We still have one of the bread ovens by the main fireplace downstairs. When we get to around about 1820, 1825, then Daniel George owns the building there. He's a jeweller by trade, but light bulb moments. Now, if you think about post-industrial revolution, a lot of people coming off the land to take up jobs in factories. Towns and cities were expanding rapidly population-wise, huge shift in terms of people, but the age-old problem, where they're going to live. So Daniel George had a row of terrace cottages built in what we now call the garden. They were 9 3-storey blind back cottages, not back to back, blind back, in the sense that they had no back. The back of the whole terrace was the boundary wall. Now, at any one time between 30 and 70 occupants, if you include all babies, and that terrace survived till 1955, only knocked down because the council regarded it as pretty much slum condition by then. Thankfully, the council were able to rehouse the remaining tenants, but it did last a long time. For some reason, Daniel George became bankrupt within 3 years of doing this, so he obviously, again, got his sums wrong, a bit like Twizel. So, Daniel George, and then we're moving towards Victorian times. Then we're very much into a commercial property. As I said earlier, this very much was the main thoroughfare back then. It's only sometime later that what we now call the High Street, 2 streets along, has become the main thoroughfare with the Guildhall and the shopping centre. So it was, to the extent that a number of trades operating here and the whole shop frontage down below. But the problem was the streets, winding the clock back slightly, the streets had sold the freehold to the council. You might think, well, they did all those improvements, were they that wealthy? No. Cunning plan, they sold the freehold to the council. I can't remember the figures, but it was a princely sum back then, and leased the property for 400 years on a fairly nominal rent, even for those days. Released the capital to do all the improvements they did then. So ever since then, the council have owned the freehold, and the owners, if you like, were leasehold owners. Anyway, by the 20th century, the owner had become, by inheritance, a retired vicar living in Bournemouth. You can just imagine he was being landed with repair problems. The roof had been letting in water consistently through the early part of the 20th century. And it got to such a stage that in 1936 in particular, the very last tenant left, they gave up hope that they'd have somewhere decent to store their goods and sell. So the place became empty. This guy washed his hands of the place, and so did the council. So that's when the council put a demolition order on this in 1936. Now, ironically, the war came along, and obviously it wasn't a high priority. Maybe they thought the Germans would give them a hand. Thankfully, neither of those things happened. And during the war, the local heritage group finally decided, well, somebody's got to put their hand up and do something about this. Otherwise, we're definitely going to lose it by the end of hostilities and all that. So the first, if I can find this picture, the first saviour, if you like, was a Major Thompson. Here he is, in all his finery. The finery, I suspect, was because he was High Sheriff and various other, roles of esteem in town. He had some capital spare, so he said in 1941, I'm going to buy the building and I'm going to shore it up, which is exactly what he did. He did full repair of the roof and essential internal, and kept it going for 5 years. Remained empty, but at least he did the first half, if you like, initial hard yards. After that, in 46 to be precise, the problem was that money ran out for him. He said, well, as promised, this was going to be fairly temporary. Anyone else? So the real saviours were brother and sister, Matley and Elsie Moore. So there you go, got a black and white and colour options there. It's the only picture we have of them. But they were the real heroes because they took over in the late 40s, and it was agreed that it would become their family home. So they actually moved in here in 1949 and lived here till they died in the 1980s. And it's what you see around you today, pretty unusual for National Trust in fact, is exactly as they left it. Okay, well, in our short-term winter break, as it were, they tend to move the furniture around a bit. That's really to confuse us. So that's what they've created. Now it's an eclectic mix because, as I said, it had been empty, especially as a family home, for well over 200 years when they took it on. They'd moved, well, they're originally from Cheshire. They moved down to Worcester in the late 20s and moved from another period property in town. So they initially had some furniture, but then it's not just the furniture, of course, it's the furnishings, tapestries and everything else. So it turned out to be an eclectic mix. Not all of it was their own, so to speak. Some of it was gifts. The table here, for example, might not look it, but it's about 300 years old, Spanish. It was a gift from the owner of Berkeley Castle in Gloucestershire, because they didn't just say, well, this is ours, nobody's going to look at it, because they did private tours before the trust took over, but also they were quite well known in heritage circles. So that's one example. There's some garden ornaments, for example, from Clough Williams Ellis of Portmarion fame, so they certainly knew each other. But they did a lot of work here, and it wasn't just, as I say, furniture and furnishings, although some of them are pretty impressive. Elsie was probably the main driver there, because she was the real artist, and nothing went to waste. She was able to renovate, because things like the tapestries probably weren't in great condition when they acquired them. So certainly renovation was carried out. They could be quite selective about the periods of the property that they wanted to conserve, and that's probably understandable really when there is so much to do here. But also she was an early upcycler. So one example is the lovely standard lamps either side of the fake fireplace were not originally lamps. They were part of a four-poster bed, but nothing went to waste. And I said fake fireplace because they knew full well that whilst we have the original chimneys and fireplaces in the wings, they couldn't do much here. They couldn't knock through the roof and all of that, and it's long before the days of log fires with fancy fitments. But they had this Scottish bed head in their collection, so pretends to be the fireplace around. Obviously the tiling is more recent, and then the fire was the heating they would have had. And they've been happy with that because, of course, generations, different needs. The trust has since put in central heating, but frankly, especially in a room like this, there's enough wood around that it's never that cold in any event. But just one little example there. So I've probably rabbited on enough at the moment. So what I suggest you do now is have a good wander yourselves. Plenty of information around, and I'll be on hand for any questions. Apart from this, the parlour, which they obviously created that as their living room. Through there we've got it's not the bookshop, it's actually their library. It's their collection of books through there. And that side, as I say, is where Mr. Moore, Mackley Moore, that's where he would have slept in the half Tesco in the corner. So that was the bedroom. I'm not sure if it's open today. Yes, there is an extra room at the back, which is a kind of generic exhibition room. So have a good wander, and I shall be around for questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You said this is a real fireplace, and it's beautiful. Was that what they did for the aesthetics of it?
Yeah, partly, and also they knew that they couldn't create a real one. Naturally, they couldn't knock through in any shape or form. But apart from being a bit wonky, of course, that's partly the that's partly the walls. But it does fit well.
It does look really nice.
1616. Yeah.
Really nice idea.
Yeah. And it's only one thing I didn't mention. In 1960, bearing in mind what happened in the 60s, of course, a lot of period property knocked down. Then Elsie bought those 3 properties up. So of course, while they didn't have the money from their father inside.
Fascinating history, wasn't it?
Worcester. It's one of the staircases. Obviously, there's some modernisation, but tight.
Yes.
Even with some modern steps.
Whereabouts in Cheshire did they come from, the Macnamores?
I'm not sure. It might mention it. I think in the text there. I can't remember. Possibly Wills or Whaley. But they came to Worcester in the 20s. Oh yeah. Yes.
Sorry. Oh, quite heavy steps, fine. It's not working, is it? What's done with it?
More lighting, yeah? It's cold for them, you know?
We can see him having their lunch.
That, I'm only saying it because that meant at 10 to 5.
Well, we've done beef before then.
Oh, but food.
So isn't he? Yeah, but he's not rushing out to the art centre. Oh?
That was too far.
Or the centre?
Yeah.
I thought it was quite local, if I'm honest with you.
No, from here to that other one.
Well,
That was a good walk, though, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. Not bad price though for all information we had.
No.
Well, nothing done there because it's £100. Oh, so red tape across it. I think there's a room on the side in the Matt said.
That's for the training. Not really.
Are you right there?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. It doesn't need a padlock.
There's a room on the side, is it?
So that's a great hall through here if you haven't had a browse there. And then the dining room through there, which is largely Elsie's work. So there's plenty of info around for those two.
Dining room, this is. A hall. I don't see no entry there, do we? It's already locked. So yeah, really good information of yours, you know. in the prices. Hot drinks, £2.50 a cup. I only was checking the prices, just £2.50 for a coffee. So then everybody, that concludes our visit to National Trust. Make sure you like and share and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you on the next adventure.